All right. Chelsea, I'll let you take it away.
All right. Hi. Good morning, everybody. Melissa, thank you so much to everyone for being here with us this morning to talk about this exciting opportunity to expand the way that we plan for career advising through offering middle grades career technical education. So the first thing that I want to point out when I say that is that middle grade CTE means grades 7 through 10. So even though traditionally we would think like that 7, 8 grade range, all the stuff we're going to talk about today could potentially go all the way up through grade 10. I'm also really excited to be here with Josh from Learning Blade. I'm going to sort of go over some of the traditional career tech stuff and the logistics of how that all falls together in a career advising strategy. But then Josh is really the man with the plan because he has an amazing resource that is free to Ohio teachers that ties together all the stuff that we're going to talk about today. So super excited to have him here with us as well. So what we are going to talk about today is what is career advising? What's the state of career advising here in Ohio? We'll do sort of the benefits of having a comprehensive career advising strategy and using career tech as a means to do that. Talk about the courses and the logistics that you can use. And then moving into promising practices, that's where Josh comes in, talking about all of the great things that Learning Blade can do as you create curriculum in planning for what career tech is going to look like for your buildings. So I thought it would be helpful to give everybody just a little bit of background information to kind of understand why the state is making this such a priority and why for our teachers, for our educators, for our counselors, this becomes such an incredible priority area in the area of career advising. So back in 2020, the Advanced CTE, the organization, did a giant research study and surveyed 45 state directors, over 647 counselors to say, hey, what is going on the ground in career advising? Is it something that we're doing? Is it something that's effective? And surprise, surprise, there was a pretty big disconnect between what folks thought was happening at the state level and what our counselors and educators thought was happening on the ground. What they found in this study that they published in 2021 is that kiddos most trust their teachers as their source for career advice, and parents and guardians most trust counselors as their source for career advice and career planning. This is wonderful news. We want our kids and we want our parents to trust the educators that they've put their children with. But the reality is that these folks have a limited scope to be able to provide high quality career advising to a full body of students. Our teachers only know what they know. They only really know education or their specific career field if we're talking about career tech. And our counselors, not sure how many of you have been in a school lately, but they are just a little bit overwhelmed with just trying to keep our kids in the building and happy and healthy every single day. So putting that much pressure and that much expectation on them to be able to really give quality career advising to each student, they need a lift. They need support because they want to be able to do that work. They're overwhelmed right now. So how can we create a career advising system through a school district that doesn't just rely on these individuals? So again, major disconnect between, oh yeah, we're doing a great job. And the counselors are like, help, I don't even know what we're doing. We can't have time for it. What do we do? Really, the study found that career advising doesn't happen until the high school level. And by then, oh my gosh, it's way too late. Our kids have already made decisions about their coursework, about where they're going to, in some cases, where they're going to attend high school. They do a lot of career assessment surveys. And one survey on one day may not truly give you the best picture of where you're going to be successful in your future. It needs to be more extended than just a one-day event. So 58% of states said that we were only somewhat effective And the most effective strategies are the ones that are least used across the entire country, not just in Ohio. Those most effective strategies are career technical education, work-based learning, and engaging with business and industry partners, all of which truly is part of that CTE package. Doing those things is what's going to be most effective for students in creating quality career advising, starting as early as kindergarten. We can really start bringing in those business and industry partners to get kids to see. Every 5-year-old wants to be a firefighter or a police officer, but there are a lot more opportunities out there for them that they could start to discover even when they're in elementary school. So why should we start moving this timeline back? Why do we not wait until the kiddos get to high school? I'm not sure if anyone has ever walked into a classroom where you can feel the buzz. You can feel that energy when you walk in the door and the kids are engaged. And it's not just a teacher standing there talking, and the kids are doing hands-on activities and really teaching themselves and teaching one another. That's what career tech can bring, is having students using their knowledge and their strengths and applying it to a real world scenario. Project Lead the Way is one of the examples of how some schools use career tech in middle schools. You can tell a difference between a traditional 7th grade science class and a 7th grade science class that's using Project Lead the Way. It's a great curriculum, but there are a lot more other ways to do CTE in middle school than just Project Lead the Way. If we're moving that timeline back, we're giving kids more opportunities to find what works and what doesn't. Maybe a student thinks in 7th grade, I'm going to be a doctor. I thought I was going to be a doctor all the way up until my 2nd year of college. But when I dissected cats, I found out, oh no, this is not for me. No, thank you. But I had already spent 2 years of college money in a private institution going the wrong direction. If I had had more opportunities to figure out, oh no, sorry, this blood thing isn't for me, I probably would have been on a much faster track to becoming a teacher. And also what's really exciting about this opportunity is that we can control, or influence rather, the future of the economy. We need to get our kids excited about STEM careers. We need to get our kids excited about manufacturing. That's the future, especially in Ohio, of where those high-paying jobs are going to be. Currently, Intel, those of you who are in Central Ohio, it's all the buzz that we talk about all the time. They're building their new giant facility and they're going to employ thousands of folks. Between the construction jobs that's going to bring and the high-tech, processing making jobs where people are in clean suits and doing all the high-tech planning for that, we need to get our kids excited about that, or we're going to end up outsourcing those jobs from other states and our kids are going to be left in the dirt. So we want to make sure that we show them the value and the why behind doing these things early as possible. I'd say that in addition to the things that I've already said, those of you who are currently in career tech or planning for more programming in CTE, if we start early, we're able to determine where that student interest truly lies so that we can plan accordingly for expansion in the future. If we have a giant cohort of 7th and 8th graders, that the majority of them love healthcare and they really want to be involved in that pathway, we have to start planning accordingly before they get to high school level to say, we're going to have to hire another STNA teacher. We're going to have to hire another phlebotomy teacher, instructor. So it helps us to plan accordingly so that we can meet the needs of our students and not have to turn kids away. Truly, the tragedy of CTE in Ohio right now is the capacity issue. We so want to be able to accept and offer that opportunity to every student. We just can't grow fast enough. So we have to start making those plans intentionally and early. In Ohio, we have what's called the Career Connections Framework, which is what lays out sort of a map for how career advising is supposed to look across the state from grades K through 12. There is never going to be anybody at the state level or otherwise that says, this is exactly the curriculum that you have to follow so that our kids are career ready. But this plan truly does make sense, that we're able to offer more career exploration in 6th through 8th grade so that kids can make some intentional connections to their graduation plans as they start high school and make their course selections accordingly so that they're ready for whatever pathway they choose, whether that's career tech or otherwise. What's super exciting about career tech is that there are so many different options and on and off ramps for students to engage with across the course of their educational journey. So in grades 7 through 9, one of the middle school courses that can be offered is Career Connections. It's just an exploration of all of the 16 career fields and then a little bit of dabbling in all of it. Kids figure out what they like, what they don't like. There's activities. You get some business and industry connections in there. It's just a great intro. In grades 7 through 10, which is the bulk of what we are talking about today, students can take the first course in any pathway. And sometimes that first course could be a multitude of courses, a few different options. Just to get them, get their feet wet, really start thinking about what is going to be their strengths, where are their interests, and how are all of these career courses connected to the learning that I'm doing already. We know that in 7th and 8th grade is when we lose engagement. In 7th and 8th grade is when our kiddos say, the school thing's not for me, because they fail to see the why. When they're still elementary kiddos, they're just playing school and doing what they're supposed to do. But as their brains start to mature and they can't make that connection between the value of education and what they see as their priorities, that's when we lose them. So it's really important that we are able to continuously offer them that why and help keep them engaged in that 7th and 8th grade year. So we're going to talk about that quite a bit later. Many people don't know that you could offer those high school level career tech courses as well in grades 7 and 8. It's an option. It's definitely not for every student, and it's definitely not for every pathway. We're talking about, in some cases, college level coursework. We want to set our students up for success, so we probably shouldn't put a 7th grader in a college level course. So making sure that whatever we're choosing is grade appropriate so that all students can participate. Then what we see more traditionally at our career centers or in our high schools is going to be those traditional pathway courses with lab hours in grades 9 through 10. The further that we move back the timeline, the more time we have towards the end of their educational journey for things like industry recognized credentials and work-based learning. If our students have the skills and the training to go out and participate in the workforce, we can allow them to do that in the latter years of high school. They have their driver's license, they're ready. We want to keep them engaged. We want to keep them in school. Maybe sometimes the best way to keep a student in school is to let them go. Say, go work and get credit for it. Come back when just for your academics that you absolutely need. There are 2 other options that we have in career tech. We've got our career-based intervention programs and our family consumer sciences programs that can kind of be dabbled in at any point throughout the journey, depending on the interests of the students. So this is the bulk of what we're talking about today, these middle school level courses. In EMIS, these would be curriculum code VM. So they're middle school level courses. They are not aligned to a web exam. So there's no high stakes testing that comes along with offering these middle school introductory level courses. Schools can offer the first course in any career pathway as long as that pathway is offered somewhere in their career technical planning district. If you have a career center, but you have other programs at your partner high schools, anywhere in that career technical planning district counts as an opportunity for what you could introduce at the middle school level. What I get super excited about is how incredibly simple the process is for any educator to be able to offer CTE. Right now in Ohio, there is a 3 to 5 hour online module with a 20-question test. And if you complete that module and pass that test with a 90%, you have earned your middle school validation and can teach any CTE middle level course to the grade levels that you are certified to teach. For me, for example, I was a 7 through 12 certified English teacher back in my former life. With my middle school validation, if I so chose, I could have taught a middle school welding class. Would that have been the best choice? Would that have been the best match? No, probably not. But I'm also a professional educator, and I could stay one day ahead of the kids if I really had to. What we want to do is we want to align students' interests, teachers' passions, and their subject area with a CTE pathway that matches to show students the why behind what it is that we're doing in these academic classes every single day. As a federally funded program as well, career technical education in Ohio is required to have no admission criteria. Every student must be eligible to participate. Even if we have, say, an engineering course or a STEM class that we're offering at our middle school level, we have to make sure that we're not putting barriers in place, saying things like students have to have a B average to be able to sign up for this elective class. We never know what students are going to really thrive in that hands-on environment. And every student deserves the opportunity to participate in CTE. So we're going to make sure that as we're making these plans and creating these opportunities, that every student has the chance to participate. Planning a CTE course really is a bit of a complicated process, only in that there are a lot of moving parts. The actual running of the course and doing great things for kids, that's easy and that's rewarding. But making sure that we're making the right choices in planning for the courses that we're going to offer can become a daunting process. The good news is there are a lot of people here on this call that want to help you and can help you with that process. So we'll talk about that here later. So this slide I created because there was no one place on the ODE website, ODEW, and everybody calls our website the death of 1,000 clicks, and I don't disagree, but there was no one place where you could find this information about what was available to students in these middle grades in 7th through 9th, 7th through 10th. So again, our options for those grade levels: career connections, career-based intervention, introductory or middle school courses, and then the high school level courses. All of the information is here. The slides are going to be loaded onto the website that we've been using for the whole series. So you will have access to this at any point to be able to come back and look at what the requirements might be for whatever courses you're interested in. The middle grades CTE courses, the ones in that third column over, those are the ones that just require the validation, the ones that require that 3 to 5 hour course and the test to be able to teach any CTE course. So there are so many options for how to deliver this coursework to meet the needs of students and to fit the flexibility that you need in your schedule as a middle school or high school. lots of school districts that I see choose standalone electives. They offer a career connections elective for every 7th grader. And then in 8th grade, the kids take one IT and one health science class just to get a feel for some of those in-demand careers to see what they might be interested in. Some schools might do electives in a rotation where students kind of do one semester or one quarter even of each of a few different pathways to, again, just to kind of sample flavor, go to the buffet, take a little bit of everything so that you don't miss out on anything. Some have more intentional series of courses where students might do some of that sampling, and then in following years,
My 11 o'clock call.
do a little bit more intentional follow-up and sort of secondary and tertiary leveled courses, so that growing in complexity to prepare students to enter that pathway. I have seen, though it's not quite as common, that schools will do like a co-teaching situation where things are offered collaboratively. Back when I was in high school or student teaching, it was very popular, and I'm not going to say how long ago that was, but it was very popular to do this like humanities class in for 9th and 10th grade, where we offered English and social studies together as like a blocked elective, and we sort of played off of one another in each of those courses. The idea is that you could do that as well with career tech and any other academic course or any other special. But the real exciting part, especially when it comes to middle school, is that we can do integrated and simultaneous coursework. We can do what we already do every single day. Our 7th grade physical science, our music education programs, 8th grade art. We can take any environmental science class and turn it into career tech. Take what we already have and add a layer of CTE that shows the students the why. And we'll talk about that here a little bit more in just a second with some more examples. So my new friend, Kara Sanders from Massillon City Schools, she is a counselor there, talked to me about how they have transitioned an option for many of their specials at the 7th and 8th grade level to be offered as career technical education courses. They had all of their specials teachers get that middle school validation, and now they offer, instead of just gym to the 7th and 8th graders, they do an exercise science and athletic training course. They're meeting the same standards that the kids have to do for 7th and 8th grade gym, but they're understanding the why we're doing this class, and also getting those same standards that overlap with the exercise science course as a middle grades course. We don't just do health, we do principles of allied health. We don't just do art, we dabble in some arts and communication courses. So it's so exciting that we can take what we already have and add a CTE layer to it. Not only does that mean that we're really showing the students the why, we're also getting additional funds, because career technical education comes with weighted funding. And I'm going to take this moment just to say that even middle school courses have the same level of funding as the high school courses. We're not going to have the same number of hours that we may have at the high school level or the VT level courses that are web examined. Middle school courses are only 30 to 90 hours can be offered, but still exposing students, creating this programming does require a little bit of, background funding, some supporting funding, and these do come with state supplemental funds. Something else that I get super excited about is intentionally blending CTE and our academic courses, especially when it comes to middle school. Credits don't really matter. We're not really granting credit. We can get so creative with what we want to offer to our students. Let's take 8th grade biology. Maybe we spend one semester of our 8th grade biology course utilizing some of those allied health standards in an allied health course. Students then begin to understand as they're dissecting, I don't know, pig eyeballs, that this is important because one day maybe I'm going to be a cardiothoracic surgeon. And then when we're in another part of that biology course, maybe we bring in some of an agriculture course to really understand photosynthesis and why that matters and how it applies to creating energy and mitochondria and all those other things that we're trying to learn about when we're in a biology course. Kids can see the why, see the connection, and there's hands-on components to all of it, as well as bringing in industry experts to show them why this matters and what they do with this knowledge every single day. Kara told me a story about a student of hers who was in a carpentry class. This student was an 8th grade girl who traditionally had no interest in being in school, would much rather be literally anywhere else, doing whatever else. But in this course that was aligned to carpentry, math kind of skills, this student took her fake fingernails and ripped them off by hand so that she could grip a hammer better to finish this project. It's so telling about the amount of engagement that we can bring to the table, even for our most reluctant students, when we can bring that hands-on component and show them the why of the academic content. And then the last practice that we've heard is really exciting and really making a big difference for students is to build some intentional sequencing to help students start with that base level understanding of all of their options in CTE or as a career, truly for career advising, and then choose a focus area to start building some of that skill and building some of that vocabulary, which specifically for our students with diverse learning needs can take a lot more time. So starting as early as 7th, 8th, 9th grade gives them a better opportunity to be successful in the high stakes testing of the pathway. And then eventually the student starts their pathway. All of this takes a significant amount of planning and an intentional planning around what you're going to offer to students, how you're going to offer it, what teachers are going to offer it and be in charge of it. But I am excited to introduce a really awesome resource for how it can all look in Learning Blade. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Josh.
Thank you, Chelsea. I love watching you present because you so succinctly and passionately explain why this matters so much, right? I think you said 3 or 4 times, kids need to understand the why. I actually have quotes from you. We need to expand their vision. We need to move the timeline back. And so I'm excited to share with everyone. I'm going to take about 10 minutes to share a free resource that is provided through state funding and the Ohio STEM Learning Network called Learning Blade. It does a lot of what Chelsea's talking about. It provides teachers an opportunity to blend CTE into your core curriculum. It could be a main component of an elective, or it could be complete supplemental work. I've worked in 40 states sharing Learning Blade with tens of thousands of teachers and hundreds of thousands of students. And truly, whatever way you think this might fit in your classroom, it probably will. So let me get into it. Learning Blade is a program we're an e-dynamic learning resource, which we're very excited about. It's fully funded. We won a 3-year RFP with the OSLN. We're in our first year now, so you can anticipate years of free resource, and you can get it your account at learningblade.com/OH. I will add that many districts have already turned it on in Clever, but maybe some teachers aren't aware. So you could check your SSO. We work in you can go to the next slide. We work in SSO through Clever, ClassLink, Schoology. So again, if you don't know the OSLN, I just got to give a quick pitch. The Ohio STEM Learning Network has an amazing conference coming up in June of this year, I believe. It's a STEM network, right? So they're the organization that certifies STEM schools in the state. They also have a dedicated web page about the Learning Blade opportunity. I just put in the chat box. but they do teacher cohorts. They do teacher leader cohorts. They do leader cohorts. They do computer science cohorts. They do classroom grants. They host amazing opportunities in the STEM, project-based thinking space. And a lot of CTE is project-based thinking. So there's such an overlap, which is why they are supporting Learning Blade for the state. So check them out. I'll do this next. So Learning Blade's goal is truly to provide a contextualized learning, the why. It's unique in that the way we do the why, as Chelsea was saying, is actually through academic standards. So I'll talk about that later, but we are aligned to state standards, grades 5 through 9. So really that 7, 8, 9 grade level is perfect for using this resource. 10th grade as well. 28% of all schools that use Learning Blade in the country are high schools. So it works really where you need it. But it's providing students the context of their skills in the real world. So let me show you a little bit more about that. We have 12 missions. Each mission has 10 math, 10 science, 10 English, 10 social studies, and 5 video lessons. So there's 45 lessons per mission. The missions are a problem statement. How do you design a new car? How do you rescue animals that have lost mobility? How do you think about climate change and clean energy? Your school's been hacked. What are the computer science careers and technologies that will bring your information back? What is lightweight? What is manufacturing? And so much is happening in Ohio, y'all, through the CHIPS Act, billions of dollars invested in Ohio in advanced manufacturing. So like making sure kids understand what mechatronics is. You could use some of our manufacturing missions. So each mission's a problem. And then you see on the right, there's a variety of career clusters. Now, full disclosure, we don't cover all 16 Department of Labor career clusters. So we don't have teaching and learning. We don't have lawyers. We don't have a few of those cosmetology pathways, but we're looking at those STEM, high CTE, business, energy, technology, CS, construction clusters. So as we go to the next slide, what I want to do is show you a mission diagram. These are 2 of the 12 missions. So as you're looking at, let's say, dolphin rescue and thinking about, there's a story of a dolphin in Florida. Some of you may know his name is Winter. Disney made a movie about him. The dolphin lost mobility of its tail. You had to build prosthetics. Well, let's dig deeper. What are the careers and technologies that were used to truly save that dolphin? What is a biomedical engineer? And you'll notice under biomedical engineer, there's a math lesson. So kids are doing middle school math standards, right? Or middle grade math standards. There's an English lesson looking at how English standards apply in a STEM-rich context of being a biomedical engineer. So you're seeing the cross-cutting concepts in STEM. There's that social studies lesson on the history of biomedical engineering. And then we even have, obviously, science and a video lesson. Our video lessons are quite unique. They're actually borrowed from Career One Stop from the Department of Labor. But what we do is we combine that with salary information and checks for understanding with 2 or 3 basic questions to make sure kids are pulling out the key components of that career. And it's showing people in the real world doing real world things. So, and then so people do ask me all the time, what's the difference between the green and the orange circles? So the green circles are career titles, obviously biologists, veterinarian, machinists. The orange circles are technologies. And those are still talking about careers. If you think about, radio tracking and how it can be used in a variety of settings, or how cell phones are changing society. And if you go over to the energy side, looking at the power grid, there's careers in the grid. So they're still learning about careers on both sides. It's just a difference in the focus. So each mission on the screen, dolphin rescue, that is 8 to 10 hours of interdisciplinary curriculum. Energy sources, that's 8 to 10 hours of interdisciplinary curriculum, and so on and so forth, times 12, right? I do want to point out on this screen, because this is, like, for me, the most important screen. You see the little orange and green dots next to every circle's got 1 or 2 dots. That represents the express mission. So, the full mission's 8 or 10 hours, but maybe you don't need all of that. Maybe you're just trying to do a touch point, as Chelsea said, get a lot of career exposure and bounce around. So the express mission is only 2 hours. And then really, when we think about as all the different places this could go, if it's an IT class, we have a hack attack mission. If it's a health science class, we also have a heart surgery mission. If you're for your family consumer sciences, we have our fresh food mission and our entrepreneurship mission, looking at finances and things like that. So there's just so many places this can go. Elective, core curriculum as supplemental. I'll talk about that a little bit for maybe a minute or two at the end, but let's go to the next slide. So that's all online learning, and that's great. You got 100 hours, 400 lessons. But in addition to the interactive online, in the teacher account, when you get your account, we also have project-based learning, hands-on projects. We don't sell kits, we don't sell anything. It's all free, training's included, but we have projects like building a rubber band car, building a wind turbine using recyclable materials. So using some of those group, I call it the 4 C's: collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and creativity. We have design engineering challenges. So, thinking about how to adapt a car for a wounded veteran, how to package food better, and do actually get kids to do a design challenge where you give them a potato chip and ask them to build a food package, much like the egg drop. So we have engineering challenges with rubrics. Parent discussions is one of my favorite things we have. It is, every Student Succeeds Act asks for students to for schools to engage parents. So if you've done some Learning Blade, you can send home a PDF that says to have a conversation at dinner and talk about these topics. And so we're engaging in content around career exploration. We also have 3D printing activities. I have one right in front of me, like getting kids to do a Pinewood Derby designed race car, but then you can add mass to it through the little divots here and do a science experiment on how velocities changed through mass. And then I think I have some slides later on intro to coding. We have a 20-hour coding course for, if you're trying to add computer science and teaching coding, we have a whole course for that. So next slide, please. When students log in, it's very colorful, it's dynamic. They can click on their mission. They're in my trainings. If we ever got together, I'd show you quickly how to use this. But essentially, they click on it is an LMS. So each student's data is collected for you to see as a school their progress. And we're happy to sign data sharing agreements with any districts. We have a universal data sharing agreement that we can also share with you. So next slide. Once they get into their mission, there's a dashboard for the mission. It's transparent to the student. They can see their score, their progress, how they're doing. And then when they do click on a tool or teammate to learn more, they're going to be launched into essentially a story, next slide, please, of the mission, right? And so they're going to read text and do checks for understanding. So this is really about college and career readiness, practicing the skill of understanding the context of these careers and the skills you need for them with checks for understanding as they go. There is an audio track on every page, so students can have it read along to them. And every question is immediately followed by the correct answer. So there is no summative assessments in Learning Blade. It's all formative. The summative assessment really is the projects, working in teams and thinking about the new technologies and vocabulary of careers and applying that in your project-based learning. Keep going. So in Ohio, there is a new Ohio Computer Science Promise program, and that's really, as schools are trying to think about how to get more CS into their pathways and add CS to their CTE programs, Learning Blade has something to offer. So as we think about the Ohio Promise program, if we go to the next slide, we teach students in our Intro to Coding course, which is also part of Learning Blade. It's its own standalone thing, how to go from block-based coding to text-based coding in a progression, all the while learning about careers and the applications of coding in different settings. So we have cybersecurity lessons, we have data scientist lessons, we have web developer lessons and designer lessons, and all these different CS applications as they learn to code. So that's all available for you in this resource. As we go to the next slide, I think I'm wrapping up pretty much here. So as we think about that, what Chelsea showed us earlier about the Career Connections framework, obviously there's 100 careers and technologies. Every career on the screen has an hour of curriculum, a math, a science, an English, a social studies, and a video lesson. So you could pick and choose. You could use one Learning Blade lesson a week, right? Start Fridays. You could build your class around some of this, but there's plenty here to dig your teeth into, in the middle grades. And right now we've already got thousands of Ohio students. We started in June. Already there's thousands of students, hundreds of schools, and over 800 teachers that have accounts. And we'd love to make sure we're working with your districts. I've actually done 200 professional developments in the states already. So, it's free. And I'll explain that at the very end. I'll add a link if you want to schedule some PD time. So everything's aligned to standards, searchable by standards. So if you are trying to do some team teaching and you want to include some geometry standards in your CTE or some CTE in your geometry or vice versa, you can search the standards in this database, find the lessons that cover those standards. So that's what you got. I think the next slide is some research on what it all says. I just wanted to point out that moving the timeline back, as Chelsea said, and one of the things she showed was a graph of who they trust the most. And on it, I noticed students trust each other at about 40% or wherever that was. But after using Learning Blade, on the bottom here, you'll see students were 70% more likely to talk to each other about science, right? They're 59% more interested in STEM careers. And my favorite bullet point is the why, right? After using Learning Blade a little bit, there is a 69% increase in students saying what I learn in school will be useful for later in life. And that's data that's validated by Battelle, which is obviously, I think everyone knows Battelle in Ohio. So again, our team of trainers we do mostly virtual trainings, but we also do some in-person trainings. In an hour, we generally get teachers loaded and ready. Chelsea's seen some longer trainings, but most of our trainings are an hour long, and that's enough to get schools started. Can teachers access the Scholars account? Yes. So the teachers see the student's account, they see their progress, they can log in and see the student view of the student account. And yeah, so, if we had more time, I would do a live demo for you, but that's what I'm gonna put a link in the chat box so you can schedule that if you'd like. So it's just an exciting time in Ohio. And I think around the country, schools are changing how they view CTE in middle grades, and Ohio is ahead of the curve. And Chelsea is on top of the mountaintop preaching the good stuff here. So please let us know if we can support the work you're doing. And we'd just love to partner with you. We really do. My team loves helping teachers use career exploration to expand. So I'll end on that. I have over 10,000 student quotes of students that have used Learning Blade. And so many of them say, I learned things in this program I have not, I normally don't learn in school. And that's the connection of academics to their future careers. So when students say, when will I ever use this? This resource starts to build the answer to that question for them. So thank you so much, Chelsea, for including us, and Melissa. And I can't wait. I'll put all the contact and information stuff in the chat box for everybody.
I thank you so much, Josh, for being here and sharing that with everybody today. I did get to see a longer presentation and a demo. I mean, Josh had us playing with pennies and making maps on the floor to practice coding and following directions. And all of the materials are so accessible to every teacher. And that's what got me really excited about it. I'm the UDL sort of nerd in my office, and this really does incorporate a lot of that hands-on and personalized learning for students as well. Every question that I had when we were at the training, well, can it do this? Does it do this? Josh was like, yep, it does read it to the students. Yes, it is chunked. Yes, we can pause it. Yes, we can do all these things. So in thinking too about the needs of our students with diverse learning needs and students with disabilities, still 100% accessible for them as well. So
yep.
Super excited.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
So that being said, utilizing all the tools at our disposal, truly the goal is to build these meaningful learning systems that we're building curriculum, building content, building choices for our students so that they can get from point A to whatever that point B is for them, whatever they are interested in, but also wherever they're going to be successful, however we define success, because it's different for every single student. That teacher middle school validation can be completed at any time. And I know that at some point earlier today, Melissa had thrown that link in the chat. It is truly time to really start the conversation if you're interested in starting adding courses for next year. The CTE 26 applications will have to be in by March 1st of 2024. And you will have to work with whoever your career technical planning district lead district is to make sure that we're aligning what we're offering at the middle school level with what's also offered at the high school level. We're not just vertically aligning in name. We truly want to be preparing students for whatever is the next step in that pathway, using common vocabulary, using common lessons, working together to say, hey, where are the deficits when your students come into this CTE program at the high school level? How can we start building their skills sooner as they're exploring in the middle school level? So completing the planning process. Again, important things to remember is choosing the right staff to do this. This is not, everybody knows that there are some staff that this is not going to be the right fit for. We have to pick the people that are going to be energetic, that are going to be reinvigorated and excited about the challenge of offering this new opportunity for students. Start and continue building your business and industry partnerships through your business advisory councils. And at the end of the day, if we do what's best for kids, we can't do it wrong. And that's what gets really exciting. For those of you who may not know, that in Ohio, offering career tech to middle school, specifically grades 7 and 8, has been required since 2015. If your school district does not offer CTE to 7th and 8th graders, your school has to submit a waiver and get board approval to say we're not going to do it. But when it is quite so simple, quite so easy to do, takes some planning, but we have a lot of support for you around it. It definitely doesn't make sense not to. Students can participate in career technical student organizations, even in middle school classes, comes with the weighted funding. And again, lots and lots of support. I did see that we have a question from the chat.
I do. I got a quick question. I know this the middle school validation. And they say any middle school teacher can do this validation and teach this course. What about our 9th grade teachers? Is the option open for them? Because a lot of times it's like a crossover for us with middle and 9th grade. So can a 9th grade English teacher or high school English teacher go through the validation? I mean, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Any teacher with any license can get the validation.
To teach the VM.
Yes, to teach the VM. The restriction would be that whatever grade level that teacher's licensure is for, those are the only grade levels that they could teach the VM.
Someone with a 7 to 12 with a 9th grade class can teach a VM.
100% through anyone grade 7 through 10.
Thank you.
Of course.
Great information. Thank you for this. This was great. Thank you.
Yeah. So supports. Email me anytime. Usually I'm fairly quick about getting back to you. We also have our tech prep regional centers. I saw that there were quite a few of them on the call. They can help with the CTE 26 application process and some of that program design. Our state support team, CTPD consultants, and anyone at the state support team can really help you understand, how this fits into a career advising pathway and how that benefits our students with disabilities and outcomes for all students. And then also in our office, every single school has an assigned program specialist. So somebody like me who can help you with your questions, come out to visit, do whatever it is that you need to make sure that we have all the pieces in place to to get the validation, to make the plans, to be able to offer these opportunities for students. And no, there is not a cost for teachers. It is free on the state of Ohio learning management system. It is free to get that validation.
Hey, Chelsea, do Do they have to let EMIS know that the teachers have gotten the validation, or do you guys see that on the back end?
So it says in the manual that once a teacher has completed the validation, they should reach out to our office so that we can walk them through the next steps to make sure that we get that taken care of in EMIS and on their licensure. There's an override process that I don't know enough about, but the other folks can take care of for them.
Perfect.
So
Can I make one comment,
Of
Chelsea,
course,
which is
Josh.
if
Yes.
you enjoyed this webinar, maybe feel free to share that there's 2 more coming with your colleagues and friends in the district and across the state.
Absolutely. And reach out anytime.
Well, thank you very much. If anybody has questions for Chelsea or Josh, feel free to unmute or put your question in the chat. And while we're getting that, I will show you on our website where you'll find this information later. So I put the link to the Google site in the chat, and I think I can do it again. Here we go. So when you go to the site, you'll just go to middle school CTE January and February, and the dates for the sessions are here. So January 23rd and February 22nd will be a repeat of this session. So if you have colleagues or friends that missed out today and want to log in or get questions answered, feel free. We'll have the slide deck here and then a link to the recording here as soon as it can be available. So you'll find all of those things there. And then Chelsea mentioned who you can reach out to for assistance. On the website, there's a contact page to find your CTPD consultant in your region and your tech prep consultants in your area. And if you're not sure which area you're in, the very next tab are maps for the resources where your state support team is, and then your tech prep region. So we're here to help you and take advantage of, I hope you all take advantage of this information and reach out to Learning Glade. What a great way to get started and not have to worry about building things when you're implementing something new. If you want a certificate for today, Jody put the link into the chat. There's a little caveat. Make sure you select a morning session and then the option will show up for you. If you have any questions, we're here for a couple more minutes and then we'll get those answered for you. Thank you so much and have a great day.